anyway, we got our guy Nick Underhill live from a room that I've spent many hours in, not nearly as many hours as Nick, but seeing that Saints press room, man, I can't help but bring back a bit of my mid-20s nostalgia. Only, Nick, when I was seeing you around there back in the day, you were much larger, much skinnier now, and in great shape. Nick, what's going on, man? How you feeling?
Hey, thanks for calling me a former fat guy, man. You're holding that in for a while. Thank you.
Yeah, look, man, I mean, I'm trying to be like you. I'm trying to get on that path myself. But yeah, I remember back in the day. Actually, you were kind of early on the vape train back in the day, weren't you?
I was, man. I'm off it now. I'm living healthy now, living right.
Wow, look at him, dude. Done turned it around. Yeah, but vaping before was cool, just like me and my fanny packs. Okay, Nick, we do have a ton to get to, though. Let's start right here. First day of pads yesterday. Trevor Penning seemed to be some of the talk of practice, but I want to start with Paulson Adebo because it's a character that is fascinating, right? Drafted in the third round, but was viewed as a first-round talent before taking a year off. Are you starting to see that first-round talent emerge right now at camp?
I mean, he looks good. He looks really good. And the physicality, I think, just brought it about even more. I mean, he's tough to get open against. And he gave up 2 catches in one-on-ones, and the 2 catches that he gave up, like, were perfectly placed balls, and guys kind of had to, like, fight to get through them. But I think we see a much more confident player. Last year at this time, the issue with him was kind of the stuff at the line of scrimmage and timing his punches and all that stuff, and just knowing how to play press effectively. And this year, I think you see him with all that put together, and now you pair that with, he's like, what, 6'1", 6'2"?
Yeah.
He's a big guy. You notice him when he's out there. You kind of pair the mental acumen with the physical acumen, and I think we're kind of seeing that come together now. I caution that it's early in camp and these things can turn and all that stuff, and it one day can lead to a bad day. But we've seen consistently now 4 or 5 really good days in a row. And, if you ask me to crown a MVP of defense right now for camp, I think he's right at the very top of that list. He's been that good, and I'm kind of excited to see how he continues to progress throughout this, and especially going into Green Bay.
All right, Nick, the other question, and I don't know how ridiculous you may view this conversation as being, but my old man is no stranger to hot takes or trying to create them, right? And so Sunday we're hanging out at Storyland with the kids, riding on the rides, and he's just jabbering in my ear, like, if you were a Martian and you came down and you were watching 7-on-7, like, I've never seen anything like it. Jameis threw 2 picks to start. Andy Dalton looked incredible. Like, is there a quarterback controversy in New Orleans? Oh no, did we lose Nick?
No,
okay, we got it. Okay, we're good.
So,
okay, yeah. Is there a quarterback controversy?
Yeah, so tell your other guests never to do this on their phone or put it in airplane mode or something, because if a call comes through, it cuts off the video.
I see. Okay.
No, yeah. No, so I don't think so. Look, I know he said this on the radio too. I was getting texts all morning, all night, like about Bobby's Andy Dalton take. Look, I don't think
loves
this is a quarterback.
We also want to be clear about that. Like, he loves Andy Dalton. I keep trying to talk him out of it. I don't know why the man loves Andy Dalton.
Look, I think the thing is that we overlooked some of the crazy stuff that Andy Dalton does too, because he's not really in the conversation of being the starting quarterback. And if he was in the conversation of being the starting quarterback, there's a handful of throws that you'd be looking at like, man, this is crazy. Like, we were joking, calling him the riverboat rifle on our podcast last week, just talking about some of the throws that he's made. And I think Jameis's mistakes stand out more because it's within the context of, like, what does this mean? And look, I remember there was a practice in 2018 where Marcus Williams picked off Drew Brees 4 times. Like, some of this stuff just needs to kind of be kept in context. I think there's things that Jameis could be doing better. Like, I'm not exonerating his performance entirely. I think there's stuff that he could be doing better. But I think, to get to the point of a quarterback controversy 5 days into camp, that's the place I can't go yet. I need to see more. I don't see Andy Dalton kind of pushing him out or anything like that. But yeah, I think there's a handful of things that Jameis, I'd like to see him doing better. Like, he missed a screen pass to Alvin the other day, and it's just like, this is the stuff you got to figure out, you got to get better at. And why can't you throw this 3-foot pass like that? Those are the things that he needs to figure out how to improve. And I think we need to see some of that stuff. But overall, I think he's been fine. The 7-on-7 though, those 2 picks to start, they were both really bad interceptions, and those are plays he can't make, especially the second one over the middle. that's kind of been the you go through, you watch all his interceptions. That's the common thread, is not seeing defenders over the middle and kind of, he's trying to target these passes and they get jumped, and he's got to stop that. Those are the things that got to end for him to be viable, and he needs to have the middle of the field be an effective area for him to work with Mike Thomas and Jarvis Landry running routes for him. And man, Jarvis, his route running is unbelievable, by the way. Some of the stuff he does in one-on-ones is just crazy to watch, the way he sets people up. So Jameis needs to get better in that area of the field, and he can't make those types of mistakes. Those types of mistakes are the ones that, I look at, and they worry me, because for this offense to be what it needs to be, it's built to be quick game offense, and he needs to be able to operate the quick game. And so that screen and that pass over the middle, like, those got to connect.
Nick, we talked about a lot of positions in the offseason, and a lot of those positions, I felt like the Saints addressed those positions. The one that they didn't was the tight end position. We talked a lot about that one. Taysom Hill's been out a couple of days. Obviously, he's got a little injury there. Have you seen anything from that position to make you feel like somebody's taken over that position? I mean, we've seen videos. Troutman had a couple of nice catches, but where does the tight end position stand right now?
So this is where I get scared talking too much early in camp, because you get the early camp guys, and then sometimes they kind of fade as things go along.
Yeah.
But Adam Troutman he's been incredible so far, and like you can't take away the performance from him. Their leading reception guy, 7, Adam Troutman, leading in targets, 8, Adam Troutman. So the ball's coming to him. He's getting open. He's catching everything that comes to him. And that's really been the issue with him, I think, since he entered the league, is just the consistency with catching and kind of those, concentration drops where he's turning up the field before the ball's in his hands and now it's in the dirt. And you're looking at him like, what's going on? Why can't you figure this stuff out? It looks like maybe he has some of that stuff figured out a little bit, and he's putting it together, day after day. He's showing a good understanding of, how to sit in spots against zone, and his athleticism showing up. I think that there's good signs early on. I'm cautiously optimistic about where he's heading. I don't think the talent or the physical ability, though, was really ever the question. It's just kind of the details of the game and doing things the right way. And I think we're seeing some evidence that stuff's happening.
Now, Nick, so there's a lot of exciting stuff going on the field, and we will return to that. But off the field right now, Tyrann Mathieu's off the field. And obviously, we are not what you would consider an unbiased source in covering this player. And so, I'm not looking for any, drama or anything like that. But do we have any insight into a timetable or what do you make of the scrubbing of the Instagram and all this sort of stuff? Like, where does Tyrann Mathieu stand with the Saints right now?
Well, starting with the Instagram, I make nothing of that. I mean, if you go look at his Instagram, like, he posts stuff and then he deletes it. Like, I think it's a common trend with him. There's not a lot of stuff on his Instagram. There's no football stuff on his Instagram, except I think an all-decade team picture, a St. Aug picture, and an LSU picture. So there's nothing on there. And I kind of actually noticed at one point, like, when they were pursuing him, like, I scrolled his IG and I'm like, man, like, it seems like he's more active on here. So I don't make anything of that. I want to be kind of cautious about this situation.
Yeah.
I don't think he's anti-Saints or anything. Like, I hear he's studying his playbook, that he's still excited to be a member of this team. I just think that there's some stuff that he had to deal with and he needed to get away, and he dealt with it. And I think, if you kind of look at it, maybe it's a sign of maturity that he's taking the time to deal with the things he needs to deal with, instead of kind of just putting it in the back burner and not worrying about it and trying to handle it, other way. So I think that there's a productive element to this, and people keep saying this week or next week. So, we'll see. I'm not guaranteeing anything by any means. It's just I just think that there's some stuff that he's got to deal with, and sometimes life's a little bit bigger than football, and I think that just being humane to the situation, you got to allow someone the opportunity to deal with the off field so that they can be right on the field, and that the other stuff's the priority. Football. Obviously the Saints want him here. He's an important part of their plans, but I mean, this situation, I think, just has to play out how it needs to play out.
Yeah, and I don't think you have to worry about, T-Bob and I were talking about it, Nick. You don't have to worry about the football portion of it. Now, I agree with you. You want him in camp sooner rather than later, but that is a veteran. That's somebody that's been through many, many training camps. He's been a leader. He's been a captain. He's been all of those things. And so you want him to get whatever personal things he's got going on in his life, completely taken care of probably before you get him back in the building. Yeah,
and I think there's a point. There's definitely a point that they're going to start getting
Right.
uncomfortable. Like, he's got to build chemistry with Marcus Maye. They got to learn how to communicate with one another. And then that communication, it gets everybody set up. And we saw early in when they started the transition with Marcus Williams and Malcolm Jenkins, and that's another veteran player, and they had camp together. Like, there were issues with communication early in the season. So there is a point where I think it matters. And not, like you said, obviously every day they're together, it's much better than being apart. But I don't think you're at that panic point yet. I mean, I think they can kind of pick up some of this stuff. And look, I mean, it's going to be rocky back there probably if Marcus Maye gets suspended too. So I mean, there's probably going to be a rough start to the season for the safeties. I think at some point they get it figured out and everything's smoothed out. But yeah, I think he's not someone you worry about. Like, can he learn the defense? Like, he's going to know the defense. He's an incredibly smart person, incredibly football smart on top of that. So that's not a major concern for me. It's just that communication element that I think they need to figure out.
How has Marcus Maye looked? I mean, coming off of an Achilles, which can always go either way, right? And replacing a player of Williams' caliber, how's Maye done so far?
I think he's looked pretty good. I mean, you see his range, and I knew he was like a rangy player before, but just kind of seeing his turn and go ability, it kind of stands out among the other guys. I think that you see the communication element too, and he's getting guys set up and lined up already. So I think he's kind of taking a little bit of charge back there. And I think he looks good. He looks healthy to me, and I think he's going to be pretty good. It's interesting to see him. We talked about it in theory, but just his ability to line up everywhere, and when they're kind of going through like their walkthrough, you can kind of see some of the different ideas from him. Like, I think he's going to be used in a variety of different ways, and he looks good doing everything.
Nick, we all love a good camp story. I've been a part of teams where a guy makes a play or two in camp, and he's been the talk of training camp. We all kind of get behind that guy. Sometimes that guy makes the team. Sometimes he has a career. Sometimes, 2 weeks down into camp, you never hear from that guy again. So give us the names. And we're not going to hold you to those. We're not going to replay this if it doesn't pan out. But is there anybody maybe that the casual fan doesn't know about that maybe they should pay more attention to?
Man, it's been a quiet summer for the camp piece. Honestly, like, Kawan Baker was someone who kind of got me writing about him the other day. Yeah, he made some plays. I think Saints fans kind of know him a little bit, but yeah, he's looked good. Kirk Merritt is another one who's had some standout plays. It's really a lot of receivers. And the depth here is kind of interesting because, like, last year you'd be looking at like Kirk Merritt and be like, man, what does he got to do to make the team? And like now it's just kind of like, there's no way he's going to make the team. Can he get on the practice squad? So that's a nice change for them. Oh, man. Brandon Dillon had a play the other day. Like, there's a handful of guys where you look, I'm not going to lie, Brandon Dillon, like, I wrote down his number a few times and I had to go back and look at the roster. So I'm going to go with Brandon Dillon is the guy that's kind of risen up a little bit. He's a tight end. So maybe, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if I got any of these guys on the team yet. It's a little bit of a stronger offensive roster this year.
Yeah, I want to say he was Kawan last year as well. I'm not entirely sure on that. Okay, what about Trevor Penning? Last one, Nick. It seems like Penning has had a, not like a 100% day or anything in pads yesterday, but you saw the nastiness. He had some nice lockups of Turner. What do you think about Penning's performance, a first-round pick in his first padded practice?
Yeah, so I thought he had some good reps, and then I thought he had some reps where you definitely thought, like, man, this guy, he needs a little bit of seasoning and a little bit of training. Definitely an agitator, so that's true for him. Two guys were barking at him early in camp, so that's probably a good thing if you're playing against him. He's on your team or whatever, so you see that. I think that's going to be a positive trait. But yeah, I think that there's just some stuff that he needs to do to kind of be in that mix of possibly beating out James Hurst. I think there's a little bit of runway there. He just looks raw, and I think that's kind of the scouting report on him. But they got like Zach Strief sitting next to him in the classroom watching film, going through the details, and that's Strief's assignment for the year. Like Doug Marrone said, he's putting Strief on him. It's Strief's job to kind of get him coached up and to be ready to compete. And that's probably the perfect person for that job. I mean, Strief is kind of like a self-made player. Yeah. He was lowly drafted. He was raw coming to the league. He had to figure everything out. He knows how to do these things. And he's an excellent communicator. Like, his ability to explain the game is really incredible. And, just interviewing him, I became smarter over the years just talking to him. So I think that he's the right guy for that job. But yeah, I think there's a little bit of ways to go for him. And right now, if you had to pick a starter, I think it probably would be James Hurst.
Well, okay, now I lied. I got one more. Because it's a similar situation. So Jari Evans, now a part of the staff, kind of as like a GA role. Cesar Ruiz, the guy that everybody's trying to unlock. Do you think Jari can get Ruiz there?
Yeah, look, again, I mean, it's the right guy for the job, I think. I mean, Jari's another one who's just shown that kind of like, I don't know if like talking like the guys and them explaining the game is any indication, but like it seems to me like if you can sit there and like break things down a simple way that like an idiot like me can understand, you're probably gonna be a good teacher in the classroom for anybody. So Jari's one of those guys too, and yeah, he's got the technique. And look, if you gotta give this guy a chance to succeed, like putting Jari Evans in his back pocket, can't think of a better guy. And then you got Streif there too, and then Doug Marone's that type of coach too.
Yeah.
So like the structure's there for all these guys to develop. Like the development, and I think we talked about this a few weeks ago, like the development of all these guys, I think is like low key, like the biggest long-term storyline for this team. Maybe this season they're fine, but I think going forward, like you need Penning to hit, you need Ruiz to hit, or like you've wasted significant assets. So I think that I think it's a huge task right now, and like quietly, like that is a huge thing that they need to figure out.
Nick Underhill, Nick_Underhill on Twitter. Again, NewOrleans.football is the site, y'all. If you are getting ready for football season, sign up today. I am a very satisfied paying customer myself. The best camp observation, the best insight. Nick, thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.